Welcome to the Midlife Edit, the podcast for women who are navigating the beautiful, messy, and sometimes sweaty journey of midlife. This isn't about a crisis, it's about an awakening. Join me, your host, Jen Weinstein, as I dive into all the things no one warned us about: hot flashes, brain fog, strength training, hormone balancing, and figuring out who the hell we are now. With a mix of expert insights, real talk, and a little humor, because if we're not laughing, we're crying, right? The Midlife Edit is your go-to space for embracing this season with confidence, strength, and balance. Whether you're trying to lift heavier, sleep better, set stronger boundaries, or just remember why you walked into a room, this podcast is here to remind you: midlife is not the end, it's just an edit, and you get to rewrite it your way. Hit subscribe and let's tackle midlife together, one episode at a time. This is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Midlife Edit. I am so excited for today's episode because my guest today is someone who is living proof that you can completely change the trajectory of your life and do it with both grit and joy. Alivia Lesinski is a powerhouse. She leads operations for a company on a mission to deliver the dream of home ownership everywhere. She's also invested in real estate and has a couple properties, all while she was working what she called a modest W-2 job. She's navigated a health journey that includes 6 surgeries in just 3 years, and she still radiates this grounded, optimistic energy. Oh, and did I mention she danced in the 2010 Olympics closing ceremonies? Yeah, we're going there. Today we're talking about what it really takes to turn things around when life isn't working, the power of delayed gratification, and how to take control of your own story. You're going to leave this episode feeling ready to take action. I promise. I did. So without further ado, here's my interview with Alivia Lesinski. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Midlife Edit. As promised, I have another amazing guest today. Her name is Alivia Lesinski, and we're just going to get right to it. Listen, Alivia, I could have started with something like, tell me about yourself, but I loved your answer to my pre-interview question. So, how would you describe yourself to me at a party if we were just standing around listening to Taylor Swift?
Oh yes, absolutely. And we certainly would be listening to Taylor Swift if we were at any party that I host. And so the way I would probably describe myself is something a little like, "Hey Jen, I'm Olivia. I am fairly obsessed with my work. I lead operations for a company that's on a mission to deliver the dream of home ownership everywhere. And measurable operations impact and priorities and time management are really my areas of expertise. And I really love partnering with other team members at work in order to achieve big goals. But of course, I've got life outside of work. I love to travel and read and spend time with my loved ones. I have 2 cats named Sirius and Minerva, Harry Potter, if anyone is a listener or a reader. And I love to snuggle them. I love live music. Like you said, Taylor Swift. I have seen her in concert many a time, but I also love all sorts of other live music. I love to get outside and do a variety of different things. Recently did some outdoor yoga, which was really great. I'm really into personal and professional growth, which is very relatable for this podcast. I love moving my body in all sorts of different ways. And of course, a good patio happy hour. And I've also just come to be so very grateful for the life that I am able to live and work in every single day. And I am always just trying to be the best version of myself. And as one of our co-founders of our company says, becoming the person that my dreams require is very important to me.
I love that so much. So let's just jump right into work life, because you've been really open with me how you went, like there was a time where you were broke and you were stuck in a job that wasn't going anywhere. So what flipped the switch for you, and what made you decide to get your master's that changed kind of everything for you?
Yeah, so I think throughout my life in all different circumstances, I don't ever like to feel like I'm out of control. And sometimes that can be uh, a very positive thing. Sometimes that can show up as a challenging aspect of my life as well. But anytime I've been in a situation where I feel like I'm not happy with what what my state is. I'm not happy with what's going on around me, with the people I'm surrounded with. with my income, whatever it is, I am always thinking about what is something that I can do, that I can control in this moment, versus going down that spiral, like that external locus of control where you're like, oh gosh, the world is against me, or falling into victim mindset, things like that. And so I was at a point in my life. I had graduated from college a few years ago, and I mean, everyone's broke right out of college, but I was just kind of continually stuck in these like lower paying jobs, trying to work my way up. I was working my way up a little bit. I was in hospitality at the time, and getting higher levels of responsibility, but the income was never really there. And I was like donating plasma and like always wondering if when I was buying groceries, like, am I actually going to have enough? Like pulling out your calculator at the grocery store and like adding up the price of everything and being like, okay, yes, I do have this much in my checking account, or no, I got to go put something back. I also got in actually fairly decent credit card debt during that time as well. And so I was interviewing for some jobs, just continued to not get them. And I was like, okay, what can I do here to actually make a change? And a lot of the jobs that I saw in my area that were higher paying, they required a master's degree. And so I'm like, well, I've always been fairly good at school. I already had one postgraduate degree in hospitality. And so I'm like, well, I might as well try and do this and see if I can get myself an MBA, and maybe that will allow me to have a different life. And I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like everything in life that's worth having is really, really hard to work for. At least a lot of things are. And so I I did that, and I was like, all right, this is something that I can control. This is a situation I can put myself in and hopefully have a different outcome. And luckily that was the case.
That's amazing. So, how scary was that leap? And when you did that, did you have those like, what if it doesn't work moments?
Um, I don't know. It was at that time I was so frustrated with my current circumstance that I'm sure I was scared. I started this program in that program that I graduated in. I started in 2017, and so it was like almost 10 years ago now. I'm sure there was fear, because with anything new, there's fear. I remember researching programs and just being like, oh gosh, how do I even decide? I wasn't qualified for most of them. I didn't do amazing with my grades in college, but it was scary to even just put myself out there and um, just see if I could be accepted into one of these programs. And then once I started, the like every time I would get the list of like, this is all the reading and all the coursework, and I'm working full time, of course, through this, and seeing that and just being like, oh gosh, like how am I possibly going to do this? And I was also scared for my lifestyle, like my social life and all the things that I had come to love so much. And I was scared of what was going to happen at the time. It's just the unknown, right? Like you never know when you put yourself in a new environment. And then also I was on student loans, um, and I was scared for that. I was scared for how am I going to pay my student loans, and I had to keep up a certain level of grades, or else I would lose all my student loans, and then all of a sudden I would have to put up the money right there. That was really scary. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you invested in yourself and you don't remember how that feeling. And people say that about like when you have kids, you don't remember the pain. When you go through something like that because you wanted to do it to better yourself, you forget how scary it was, right? 10
Yeah.
years ago was a long time if you think about it. That's amazing. What you were talking, you got your master's degree, and we're talking now about building wealth on a modest income, right? And this is
Yes.
something that I feel like is going to blow so many people away, but particularly women, because women, I feel like a lot of times they're waiting for something. I have to wait until I lose weight. I have to wait until I have more money. I have to wait for the
Yes.
next big thing. You've managed to invest in multiple real estate properties. I think you said two and another one coming. You said on a fairly modest income, on a W 2 income. So, how'd you even start that? Like, what's step
Yes.
one?
So I think step one is just deciding what it is that you want. And I think that that's like with everything we always hear, with everything you say yes to, there has to be things that you say no to. And I've experienced that all throughout my health journey, of course. And it's really sometimes investment is time, and sometimes investment is money. Um, and I think a lot of the situations I've been in, it's been both of those, right? Like the master's program is certainly an investment in time and money. I'm still very much paying off those student loans. They're massive. Um, but when thinking about so my first property, like I have not bought investment properties. I'm actually currently searching for one right now. And this would be the first one that I would buy as an investment. The other ones I bought as a person that was going to live in the home. And so luckily, there's a lot of amazing programs out there for first time home buyers, especially if you have very little money. But a lot of the things that I needed to do was really making choices like, do I want to continue to spend a bunch of money going out and partying with my friends, or do I want to save that money and use it at that time to pay down my credit card debt because that was so massive and it was sort of keeping me from being able to get approved for a purchase. And so I think it's just like, of course, being educated, knowing what's out there, because I didn't necessarily know at first how easy it is to get into a first time home. Because I just assumed like, oh yeah, you have to have all this money. And I did this while I was still in school. Like my income was very, very low when I got my first property. And it was not a property that probably most people would consider a forever home, which a lot of people are like, oh, I need to wait for, like you said, wait for things to be right. Like I need to wait until I can afford this specific thing, or wait until I see something that's really nice, or wait until I can buy with a partner. Because at the time, I bought that place by myself. I didn't have, my husband and I we were not married at the time, and we weren't buying properties together. So I bought that place on my own and had to fix it up just a tiny little bit with some paint, but it was a great opportunity to live in. I was able to start building my own wealth versus someone else's. And the coolest thing about that is that that property is what I was able to leverage to get the other two homes. So I have not put any money down on the second or third properties that I bought because I was able to use the first one. And so I think that's another area where people keep waiting for something to be right when they don't realize, like, oh, if I just did this, maybe live in a not ideal circumstance. I mean, honestly, it was a fine house, but it just wasn't what I'd picture as a dream house. But I think that's why a lot of people don't get into investing when they have a modest W-2 income, is because they're just like, well, I can't afford what it is that I want. So might as well just keep renting until someday I make the income that I need. But it's like, someday is probably never going to come. Honestly, like there's always going to be something else. We just have to like take action if the thing is important to us.
That's amazing because you're right. I mean, the house that I live in now I love, but it wasn't always in the cards
Yes.
for me. So you have to start somewhere. So what would be your advice to somebody who's listening right now who probably honestly has a daughter in college or like getting there, and talking to them about how they start at the very beginning, whether it's saving your money or finding the right agent or finding, the right person to help them with?
Yeah, and it's so funny because as I think through different parts of my life where people tried to give me advice like this, and I just simply didn't listen because I'm like, oh, well, you're my parent or you're old or whatever. And I was like, I'm not gonna listen to that. But I think that there are things that, like being able to share stories, like that just wasn't anything I'd ever heard of when I was younger. Like I knew about people owning homes, but I didn't understand how real estate works and how you can buy one property and then leverage that property to move into another one and rent out the old one. Like you see so many people just selling their houses when they want to move to something else because no one ever told them, what if you rented it? And just held on to it and keep building the equity. As long as your mortgage is covered, you're not losing any money and you could even profit off of it. And I think that's a big piece where maybe if someone had shared something like that to me when I was younger, I would have at least been interested. But when it comes to things like spending and lifestyle and being responsible with your money, I mean, you hear that from people, but it's hard to really get that to stick. And I think maybe part of it is that when you're young, you don't attach it to anything. Like you're like, yes, someone's giving me this advice, and I could see how maybe that would be smart. But in the moment, I want to go and do this, or I want to buy this thing. And it's just not like there's not a future goal type thing to attach it to. And so I think if I was talking to someone who had a daughter or a child in college, I would encourage that person to find some stories of people that were able to do things financially that were pretty impressive at a young age. I bought my first property when I was 28. Um, I wish that I had been younger. But I know there are also other people that do it older. And so I think that I know people that have done it a lot younger, though, because they have made those choices and being willing to sacrifice a few years of savings, a few years of not putting things on your credit card that maybe you'd want to in order to make just a really massive change for their financial future.
That's awesome. And I love that so much that you are a story that somebody can listen to and somebody can be like, see, it's not just mom telling you. Olivia on the Midlife Edit podcast said.
Right,
All right.
exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna switch gears a little bit to your health journey though, because I have to ask you about it. 6 surgeries in 3 years is a lot.
Yeah.
So can you kind of walk
Yes.
us through like what's been going on and how you've managed to stay like this bright positive light, honestly, throughout it all?
Yeah. So it's funny, like sometimes I don't think about how many it was in such a short span of time until I really reflect back on that. And I was lucky. I've been lucky to be born with a lot of things, but one of the things I was not so lucky to be born with is something called hypermobility, hypermobile joints, which I actually never knew that I had up until very recently. And so if I had known it, I think it would have helped me to maybe avoid some of these things, but I didn't. And so that's what it is. And I was also born with some other like more complicated things in my brain that caused me to have like differing responses around food than what the average brain does. In a sense, like I don't ever feel full is basically my hunger situation. And so the combination of those two things caused me to gain quite a lot of weight quite easily. And throughout my life, I've really like I've always been a larger person. And then as I've into adulthood and started focusing on some of these things differently, I had two different experiences before now where I was able to lose quite a bit of weight, but it was always through these like fad type situations where, it's like losing weight and then if you change one little thing, it all comes back, right? Because I didn't understand the underlying issue. And due to the excess weight that I carried, that also caused some issues on my joints because they were hypermobile. I mean, I know excess weight causes issues for anyone's joints, but the hypermobility specifically caused a lot of things to sort of go wrong. And so I had to get both of my feet reconstructed because they were just like basically fully inverted, almost the arch, and causing a lot of problems with exercise and just the normal things that you might do. And those surgeries were the most challenging for sure because they kept me not walking for 3 months each time. And so it's a long time to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
without walking. I've also had to get two different surgeries on my spine. Um, and that again is due to the hypermobility and just like the discs move more easily and causes nerve pain, things like that. And then I also had a weight loss surgery, which I think we'll get into that. And then I also had just a smaller surgery to get the screws and stuff removed from my feet surgery. So those are my 6 surgeries in 3 years. And I did it that way also relating back to modest income. There are ways you can hack things when you have a modest income. And one of those ways is that your insurance has an out of pocket maximum. And if you have multiple things that need to be done and you can do them in the same calendar year, it's almost like a BOGO. So, like, I got my 2 feet done for the price of one because I got one done in January and one done in December, and I only paid for the first one. And so if you have to get things like that done and you're frustrated with the money part, like, yes, were all these surgeries massive drains on me financially? Absolutely. Did I have to say no to a lot of stuff in order to make them happen? Absolutely. But I paid probably half of what I would have paid if I had spaced them out more. And that's why I did them so quickly like that. And because of the pain, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I had two ankle surgeries and I couldn't even imagine doing the full. So will
Yeah.
you just define for me what hypermobility is, just for our listeners?
Yes, and I mean, so this isn't really like a medical definition. I'm sure that
Sure.
I could get that, but what it means is that your joints, so if you hear about people that are like double jointed, things like that, that's sort of related to hypermobility. It's not all the exact same, but your joints aren't protected naturally in the same way that they would be for someone who doesn't experience hypermobility. So for example, like um I can just bend my knees like fully backwards. Like my natural knee state is hyperextended. And I have to really, really think to keep them straight. Whereas for most people, their natural is straight. And if they like, I don't know, are standing way too long or something, they might start to hyperextend and feel the pain there. But there's just a lot of like your joint itself doesn't naturally hold up as well as it would if it wasn't that way. And so it's really, really important in those cases to strengthen all of the muscles around those joints way, way more than you would normally. Um, but if you don't know that you have this condition, then maybe you wouldn't think about it. And I mean, I did some stuff that like I ran a half marathon in 2018 with hardly training at all because I'm like, yeah, whatever, like I can do this. Um, and if I had known I had hypermobility, I would have either really done the training plan and cross training to ensure I was muscled up correctly, or I would have just not done it because I caused myself so much pain by doing that because I didn't know that I had this issue. And then I ran 13.1 miles and I wasn't like, it can really cause some problems.
So what made you, or I guess who? I mean, did you have to go to multiple doctors and be like, what's going on? Or like, what made you want to seek help for something you didn't even know you had?
Yeah. So what I sought help for, um, was not the condition itself because like you said, I didn't know I had it. It was the symptoms. So the first thing that like I said, the feet were kind of the first most painful thing because I have always loved to be active in some way at different levels throughout different areas of my life. But it's always been really important to me to be able to like go out and walk or bike or something. And when I travel, I love to see places on foot because I want to see all the stuff. Um, and so I was starting to get to the point where like I was running and then I couldn't run anymore. And then I couldn't walk anymore, long distances. And then I couldn't ride the spin bike anymore because I just kept going to things that were less and less impactful on the joints. And so then I went to my doctor and I'm like, oh my gosh, my feet, like I can't do any of these things. And she did x-ray and then MRI, figured out that I had these like inverted arches. So I get this surgery on my first foot, and it was actually the physical therapist for that surgery that was the first person to identify it for me because she's kind of like working with me on that foot and looking also at my other foot, which has yet to be done, and kind of learning about what went down on that. And then later I asked my surgeon about it, and he's like, oh, yeah, you do have hypermobility. Like, that's why we had to do all these things with the, oh, what is it called? It's like a ligament or something. I had to have some ligaments replaced too, and that's related to it. And so yeah, I sort of learned about it without trying to. Um, but it's really empowering, and I think I'm remembering now. You asked me earlier of how I've kept the attitude about this, and it's actually something people ask me all the time, especially when I've had to get surgeries recently. I'm like, oh yep, like got this surgery I got to do, and they're like, how are you so calm about it and like not frustrated? And again, just going back to what I said at the beginning, like I can only control so much about my life. Like I can't help the body that I was born into. I can only help what I choose to do about it. And it's not, it doesn't serve me to feel like a victim or to feel like, oh my gosh, I wish that I had a different body. I wish something was different for me. I have felt that way in the past. And that's something I've had to just work on for myself because it doesn't get me anywhere. And so like it's just like, well, if you have a person in your life that's always complaining and you just don't want to be around that person. And if that person is you, you really don't want to be that person. So I didn't want to be that person for myself. And I just always am kind of like, all right, well, this is what it is. I'm not excited about it, but I am maybe excited for the outcome. And all I can do is try to be positive.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to ask about the weight loss surgery now.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about your weight journey, because that's something that I've struggled with in my life, and I know a lot of my listeners have too. But it's always like it seems like you just go to the doctor and they say, "Oh, just lose weight,"
Yes.
and there's not like a lot of options, and they're just not all doctors, I will say that, but some doctors are just like, "Hey, just go do it." And with somebody like you who has these different underlying conditions, plus you talked about the condition where you never feel full, how did you get to the point of, okay, it's time to do the weight loss surgery? This is what my body needs. I need help. And what did that look like for you?
Yes. And I want to start by prefacing that I have had both kinds of doctors in my life. And I think that that's a really important subject to bring up. Whenever people ask me about this journey, I talk about my doctor because my doctor, I am so grateful to have one that is on the other side of that coin, where she doesn't see weight as the cause for all of the problems. And also, I guess the surgeons that I had too. I mean, when I got those foot surgeries, like I was like, I don't know, at least probably 60 pounds heavier than I am right now. And so like they didn't say, oh, just lose weight and then your feet are going to get better. I mean, it helps that you have an x-ray that really shows that it's a bone issue, um but overall with my weight, so like I said, I've always been a larger person like all throughout my life, which it's kind of interesting too because my sister is very small. She's like the exact opposite of me. She's always been very small. And it's one of those things where perhaps it was like growing up, it was always really hard for me. But now looking back as an adult, that has actually been helpful for me because I can think back and be like, we were in the same household, being served the same meals, doing the same types of activities. Like we were 2 years apart in age, and so we ended up doing a lot of stuff together. Like not everything, but a lot of stuff. And so I was able to see how, well, okay, if we lived such similar lives, why was my health so different than hers, or my weight? Because that's obviously not the defining factor of health. And so that was a good reflection point for me, is to just think about that and be like, okay, like maybe something else is going on. But as I said, I grow up, I start like coming out of college, and start really like being frustrated about the way that my body looks, like not being able to fit into the clothes I want to wear, not looking the way I want to look in pictures. And so, and I actually also had a just kind of like a challenging conversation with someone close to me who really pointed out my size in a way that honestly didn't feel great, but it led to me going and working with this facility here locally that basically put me on the ketogenic diet, which honestly I have no hate on the keto, right? Like if that's what anyone's doing, that's great. But for me, I didn't know at the time that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, which another thing that I happen to have. And so that diet actually is really really rough for people that have that hormonal issue. And so I did the diet with him. I lost like, I don't know, 60, 70 pounds, something like that. And it was a really just like a full focus on food, and it was coming from a place of me not liking myself, honestly, like not liking the way I looked, not liking the way I felt in clothes, and wanting to change myself. And so I think it was, I kept the weight off for a while, and then, oh yes, I started my MBA program. So then I start my MBA program, and I don't have the time to like focus on food and meal prep in the way that I did because I was doing school plus full-time job. And I started eating slightly more normally again, like not unhealthy. I just started adding back in some things like carbs, fruit, um, those things, and gained all the weight back so fast, like within a span of maybe 6 months. And so then I go through my MBA program, and then I forget what year it was. I think it was 2021. I decided to, like, I had heard about some people that had been working with this nutritionist and losing a bunch of weight. So I was like, again, really frustrated with how I was looking, frustrated with how I was feeling, frustrated that I put my health on hold while I did this master's program. And so I'm like, okay, this is the solution. And again, had a very limited, like, it wasn't the keto diet, but it was like very limited. I think I could eat like 11 foods. It was, that one was really, really rough on me mentally. I also had to start the program by not eating a single bite of food for 2 weeks. I survived solely on collagen powder for 2 weeks, and it was awful.
Oh, that
But
sounds so terrible. Like it makes me cringe a little bit. But
I
go ahead.
know. And then I ate only 11 foods after that.
Oh,
So that one was really, really rough on me mentally, because that extreme restriction was like, it was just, I don't even know how to describe it. But anyone who's put themselves in a very extreme restrictive situation like that is probably understands what I'm talking about. It's just really, really hard and can make you feel really bad about yourself. And so I eventually was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Stopped working with that person, gained all the way back again. And at that point, that was when I got my foot surgeries. So I got the first one about a year after I started with that program. I had again lost about 60 pounds. That seems to be like the number that I could lose. I started out much heavier that time, so I didn't get quite as small, but I got my foot surgeries, and that really impacted my mobility, because I've always sort of been able to at least manage my weight with exercise, because I've always loved to exercise. But then not being able to walk for 3 months and just being stuck like on a couch was really, really rough again for me, and my both my eating habits and of course my exercise. So gained all the way back again. And then it was I was talking with my doctor about I had a different doctor through those other times, and then I had this other doctor, and I was just talking with her about what I was experiencing and feeling. And I started working with a nutritionist, doing like the Mediterranean diet. This was a great nutritionist. I felt awesome working with her. I stuck to that plan 100%. Like I was not faltering hardly at all. If anything, maybe 1%. So maybe 99%. And I was also back on exercising again, loving that. And I was not losing a single drop of weight. There were times when I would gain it. And so I just couldn't figure out like what's going on. I talked to my doctor about it. We run all these labs and tests, and she's like, your body is 100% healthy. Like my cholesterol's perfect, my blood pressure is super low, my resting heart rate super low. Like everything was healthy, but I was at a weight that did not feel good on my body. And she said, you basically have two options. You can continue to live your life this way because you are not at risk for any health issues outside of the ones directly caused by having excess weight on the body, or you can try to do something medical. And so that would be either GLP-1 type situation, which at the time the only offering was like injections that my insurance didn't cover. And so that would be $1,000 a month, or a weight loss surgery. And so I decided to go down the route of the surgery because I'm like, well, it's a one-time payment and I'm not going to have to pay this $1,000 a month for the rest of my life. So I went to a consultation. I met a doctor that I was referred to, and then learned pretty quickly that my insurance did not cover the surgery. And so I had to make the choice of whether I was going to carry through with it or not. And again, this goes back to that investment piece of like, I had to make a lot of tough decisions. And I paid $20,000 for this surgery. And I say that because I think it's important for people to understand how much it costs. And how much I had to sacrifice in terms of like lifestyle buying things. I used to get my lashes done. I was always getting my nails done. Yes, they're done again now. This is actually my first set since that surgery.
wow.
Because finally I'm like, okay, I'm in a better spot financially. But um it was a big sacrifice, and I would do it over and over again. And in that time frame too, I was also having these headache issues, and that's what brought me to this neurologist, where I learned about um the brain situation. It sounds way worse than it is. It's like everything's fine, but it's just something that you learn about yourself, right? It's either it is or it isn't. But my my neurologist had just asked me, she's like, oh, like, do you experience issues with hunger? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I definitely am hungry a lot. And she's like, what about full? And I'm like, well, I feel full sometimes, and anytime that is, I always feel full to the point of like nausea. Like I've eaten way too much. And that's what had me reflect back on my life of like, yeah, I guess I always just kind of eat about how much I think is the right amount, but I don't feel full. And that has carried through for me, even with the weight loss surgery. I don't ever feel full. Um, but it's just kind of helped manage some of the hunger a little bit. And then, of course, managed like I'm very meticulous around how much I eat because I know how much I can eat. And that, of course, controls the portions. But it's been quite a journey. But I think the biggest piece that's important for people to know about this last time is even working with that first nutritionist that was had me on the Mediterranean diet from this recent round of trying to lose weight. I was coming at it from a point of there were so many things in my life I wanted to do that I was feeling held back from. And like I was experiencing all these physical pains in my body and like physical ailments. And I just didn't want to live that way. And so I was approaching it from wanting to make a change in my experience, not make a change in my physical. I mean, yes, my physical self, but not me. Like I didn't come from it from a point of like, there's anything wrong with me. And I think that's a very critical piece of making a large change in your body, or probably any type of change, is you have to be good with yourself first. And if you're trying to make changes to make yourself better, it's I don't think it's ever going to stick, honestly. Like I think you have to like truly be good with who you are internally, and then you can make changes around your experience or the things that happen in your life, but not who you are, if that makes sense.
It does, because it's just kind of like what we talked about before. You can't wait for to change yourself inside until you lose weight or until you get more money or whatever. It
Yep.
starts within here. And that's super important. And I'm so glad that you said that, because just getting a surgery or just being in a GLP-1 or just buying the new outfit isn't going to change the way you feel about yourself unless you do
Yes.
that inside work. And I think that's really important for people to hear. So you talked about how you've always been, you've always liked to work out or movement or anything else. Has this experience, I mean, obviously it has. My big turning point for losing weight was I was showing a house and I was walking up the stairs, and by the time I got to the top I couldn't breathe. And I was like,
Yep.
this just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me anymore, and I've got to do something about it. So how has like your movement and mindset changed now that you've lost the weight? But I feel like when people lose weight in positions like we are, we gain so much more, right? Like not
Hmm.
weight, but like about ourselves and about movement.
Yes.
And I talk a lot about strength training. I love strength training, but what do you like to do that has kind of changed since you've lost the weight?
Yeah, I love that. And I actually love what you just said about like losing something and gaining so much more, because that's actually like what my I have an Instagram, and like one of the things I have on there is like I feel like I'm on a journey to a smaller body in order to live a bigger life. And that is so, so important to me. Like anyone who knows me knows that I love to just like make the absolute most of my life. And so I think what has changed for me is I I struggle, especially with the surgeries and stuff like that. I am a very impatient person, and so I want to just get right into like right back to what I used to be able to do. And it's really, really frustrating for me when I can't do things that I once was able to do. And that's had to be like a very big focus for me in this whole journey is what can I do with my current situation versus just like not doing anything because I'm frustrated that I can't do what I maybe used to do. And so especially like after weight loss surgery, there's like your body is restricted for a very long time. And after these other surgeries I've gotten to, like it's really, really hard to have so much of your movement restricted and to be in PT for some things too. Like I hate PT because it's so you have to be so patient and do these tiny little movements. And I'm like, no, like I want to be like on my spin bike or doing something where it really feels like exercise. And so I really had to stop and remember, okay, this is something. You are doing something. Even if you can't feel anything, you're working some tiny little sliver of a muscle that is going to get you to the point that you want to be. And trying to practice that patience, that's been so, so hard for me, but it's been something that I have really focused on. And I think another piece is the presence in my body. I used to do exercise and do it either to like check the box and be like, yep, worked out today, I sweated, or do it for endorphins, for stress release, for whatever reason, but I wasn't ever really present in my body, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't feeling the muscles and like thinking about the ways that they were working and what should I be clenching and what should I be relaxing and all those things. And I don't know what it has been about this surgery, but it has caused me to be very, very present in my body and like feel things very differently. And I got back into all the pieces of movement that I loved before, but I've also started to kind of like try out some different things and just be open to experience, be open to being able to do something that I never could do before. And then it's been really gratifying to feel how so much of the work that I've put in through my exercise just makes my body feel really, really different. And I think if you're exercising and you're not stopping and like just being present and feeling everything, like it's just a huge piece of advice that I have, because it just feels so good. And like I recently started to try to run again, which has been a huge mental thing for me, because I haven't ran since my foot surgery, my first one in 2022. So it's been a long time, and I had that bad experience with the half marathon, so it's just, you get in your head. And so I have started trying to run again, and the program that I'm doing, like they make you go so slow, which has been good because I have a tendency to get like, like race adrenaline. Like I just start going because I'm like, oh, I'm running. Um, so I've been going really slow, but what's been cool is that I feel the power in my legs, which I have never felt that before, because I've always just been like, oh, I gotta run. But now I can feel everything I built up through strength training and bar and Pilates and spin and walking, like all these other things that I've been doing, I feel it. And I think it's just so motivating to keep going when you can feel the benefits of what you've been doing. And of course, like what you said about the walking upstairs, like I have one set of stairs in my house. I can plow up that thing now. I don't get out of breath. My heart rate doesn't increase. Like I can do anything in terms of stairs. Like I can hike up a fairly steep mountain without hardly getting out of breath. And it's just the coolest thing to be able to like do that and talk with people, whereas I never would have been able to do that before. And it's just important to reflect on those things and remember what your experience used to be like and how different it is now.
Yeah. Intentional, I think, is everything that you just wrapped up. Intentional movement,
Yes.
being intentional in your body. It's an amazing feeling. And I always say, like, I'm not working on my bikini body. I'm working on my grandma body. Like, I want to be that grandma who can still walk up those stairs, being able to do
Yes.
it with grocery bags in my hands. I
Yes.
love
And
it
there's
so
a,
much.
yeah.
And I think that another word that I would use for you is everything that you've said, you're so resourceful. Have you always been like that, like all of your life? Or is it something that like you grew into? Or, like was that something that your parents would say, oh yeah, Olivia is the resourceful one?
Man, that is so interesting. As I think back, I think yes, like I have always been very, very independent. I and have always been able to take care of myself and handle things myself. I've never really liked rules all that much because I want to just do my own thing. And and like I said, I always want to try to figure out how do I solve this problem for myself. And that has been something that I even did in as a child in some certain ways. And so yeah, I don't know if it's just like something that I was born with or something that one of my life experiences gave me. Like you never know exactly where the things that make you are the things that make you the way that you are, where they come from. But I am definitely always someone where I don't ever feel like anyone or anything is coming to save me, and I don't ever think that my situation is going to change magically without me being the one to change it. And so I'm just always willing to figure out what is that thing. And I think when it comes to health, like how you mentioned about the doctors and stuff, like I have been through a lot medically, and I continue to go through a lot medically. Like I'm in even right now, like I've probably had at least several hours of doctor's appointments this week between like PT from my most recent surgery and just like other imaging and things. Like the health issues have not stopped for me. It's like a thing that keeps coming up, and I just choose to not let that make me a victim of anything. But um it's hard to have to take that much time out of work during the day, so then you got to work in the night and on the weekends when you want to be doing other stuff. And it's just, it takes a lot out of you. But it's one of those things where you have to be your own biggest advocate, and that takes time to go and find the resources and learn about things, and not be willing to just accept, like, this is what my life is going to be if it's not something that doesn't feel good.
Yes. So you said that you want listeners to walk away from this episode inspired to take personal agency. And I loved that you used that term, personal agency, over something in their life that isn't serving them. So what does that actually look like in action? Like if somebody's like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just ties right back to what I was just sharing, and what I shared earlier too, about like the different locus of control. Like, do you feel like everything in your life is a result of something external to you or something internal to you? And that takes some, it takes some thought, because I think that most people, they're going to be like, oh no, it's internal. I always think I'm in control. But if you really stop and think about it, do you? Like, you have to kind of like let go of your own ego and really think about that for a second, because I think a lot of people aren't aware of the way that they foresee the world and see their own space in the world. And I think that is a really, really important starting point, is just like having some form of like personal growth, like information that's being like ingested into your brain, whether you're listening to I'm a big fan of Brendan Burchard. I listen to his content constantly, and he's always asking questions and saying things that make me reflect. And so you have to find a way, whether it's a therapist, some sort of personal growth, to tap into pieces of your mind that might not be normally accessed, because you can't even figure out necessarily what you're unhappy with in your life until you get clear on what those things are, like what you might want to see different. And so that's a really important piece. And then the other important piece is you have to be super clear on what the work is that it's going to take in order to do that thing.
Mhm.
And know that it's just on you to figure it out, right? Like, it's not, there's no easy button. And it's funny, like, after I've lost weight and it's become very visible to people, I've had all sorts of people from like all areas of my life, some people I don't even know, reaching out to me, complimenting me on weight loss and asking me what I did. Like, people that don't ever talk to me, I'm like, why are you talking to me? And I think the reason is because they want to hear me give them some sort of easy button, like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, I just did this or I just did that. And it's like, there is no easy button. Like, there's that quote, you can't be upset with the result you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Like, you literally can't expect anything to happen to you that you're not willing to do the work to make happen. And so that's the biggest thing around like personal agency. What you shared earlier, Jen, like, we can't ever wait for the ideal moment. Like, I promise you, like, I have had in all these situations, I've had a million reasons that I shouldn't have taken some of these drastic actions that I did, shouldn't have done this MBA program, shouldn't have gotten this weight loss surgery or these other surgeries. Or like, I mean, it's, I've spent so much money, so much time, I've been in so much pain, so inconvenienced by all these different things. But I now have a result that I want, that I wanted, because I was willing to do that work. And sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel great. I mean, probably it never does, but that's the biggest thing, is like, you just have to stick with it, and find something that is, that's right for you. Because again, like fad diets, things like that, it feels like it's going to be easy. I've been that person. I've wanted the easy button. I thought it was. Um, and it's just never, it's never easy.
Yeah. And I say it all the time, but I made almost like an angry post the other day because there are so many companies and people out there, MLMs and stuff that play on, or they prey on us. You know what I mean? They're like, I
Yes.
know that you're in a low spot. Let me sell you this patch for $400 a month and everything's going to be better. And it's not. You have to put the work in yourself. And I've done it. I mean, I've been there, the Slim Fast diet, any diet possible I've tried, and it just doesn't work, you know, because I wasn't willing to fix internally what I needed to
Yep.
do to fix externally. I love that. Everything's been so deep, but I can't end the interview without this. You were a dancer in the 2010 Olympics closing ceremonies. How did it even happen? Like, what is that?
Yeah. Yes. I know, it's funny. That's like one of my go-to like two truths and a lie things, because no one ever believes it. Because it's so random, right? Like, So I went to university at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, BC, and I was in university during the 2010 Olympics. And so our university very nicely gave us the 2 weeks off during that Olympics because they're like, well, why not? And we were hosting a lot of the events. But a few months, or I think it was in the fall, so yeah, it was a few months before the Olympics. They put out sort of like this all call to try out for the Olympics dance team, or performance team or whatever. I don't even know how I learned about it. They probably like posted it at my university or something. I heard about it somehow, and I was on dance team in high school. It's not like I was that good. I mean, I liked dance, and I like individual dancing a lot. You know, where you learn a choreo. So I like to dance. I was missing that thing. I'm like, well, that would be cool. Like, I might as well just give it a try. And I go to this tryout, and it's like, there's this big dance group called, I think it's called Harbor Dance Center in Vancouver. So there's all these people with their Harbor Dance Center sweatpants on at this tryout, and I'm like, oh gosh, like this isn't going to happen for me. All these people are like actually skilled dancers, and I'm just like here. Um, but I like did the thing. I You just kind of like learn a choreo, and then you dance it in a big room, and there's like people going around and videotaping you and writing little notes. I don't even know how they chose necessarily. I'm certain I wasn't all that good, but maybe I was bringing some sort of energy that they were looking for. But got chosen for this Olympics dance team, and basically spent like months and months rehearsing with like going to school too, obviously. It was a joke of ours, like they would feed us granola bars and apples, and in these long rehearsals, like 10-hour long rehearsals, and you'd get like a granola bar and an apple. But did all these rehearsals, and then we got to go to the opening ceremonies dress rehearsal for free, which was really cool as a part of our little pass. And I got to see when Wayne Gretzky brought the torch in and lit the Olympic cauldron. They brought a group of us there to like be on the TV screen, just so he wasn't there by himself. And so I got to be there and watch him do that, and then got to perform in the final number. Chaos was doing some sort of hip hoppy situation, and we were like, I was in the hip hop dance crew, and so we all came out of the back and like danced in the stands. Like there's kind of like that platform that's in a stadium that's in between the bleacher rows, like that's where all of us were. And so when he's performing, it's this like immersive experience where there's dancers all over the place. And so there was like me and a couple hundred other people that were doing that, in our toques, as the Canadians call it, and our sweatshirts, and we were all painted up with glow paint. And yeah, it was it was a wild ride, and it was right after Canada had beat the US in hockey, which honestly, like, yes, I'm American and Canadian, but I did believe the Canadians should win the hockey. And so it was very exciting to have that happen and then go on there and perform in the closing ceremonies. It was really fun.
That's something that you'll be able to tell for the rest of your life, and not a lot of people get to do that. That's so fun. Okay, just some rapid fire questions because I love to end with those. So, not patio happy hours, but if you're sitting on a patio, would you like coffee or a cocktail?
Oh man. I mean, probably coffee, because at this point, alcohol, I still drink, I'll be clear, but I don't drink very much. So I do drink coffee a heck of a lot. So I think that would be my choice. A nice little iced latte with cinnamon.
There you go. Dream travel destination that you have not gone to yet.
Oh my gosh. That's such a hard one. Um, I'd say maybe I'm also, oh gosh, this is such a hard one. I have such a long list. I'm like, I don't even know how to choose. And I'm also planning a trip right now to kind of a dream one, but I feel like that's a cheat. Um, You know what? No, I'm going to use the one I'm planning because I think it's related to this. So for my 100-pound weight loss gift, I am taking myself on a yoga retreat in Bali, and I've always wanted to go to Bali.
Gosh,
Um, and I'm going to Singapore as well, which I've also always wanted to go to. So I have not been there yet. I have flights booked. I'm actively going, and I think it's important to think about things that you really want and reward yourself with those things when you accomplish big goals.
that's amazing. What's a book that changed your mindset? We talked about you like Brendan Burchard. I listened to his podcast, love him. But what about a book, if you could recommend?
Um, Well, obviously, High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard, certainly. I also have been doing a lot of work on emotional intelligence, and Emotional Intelligence 2.0 is really, really good. It's been hard for me to get through, like the content requires a lot of work, but it's been really, really helpful for me to do some self-reflection.
Love that. Okay, you're a Swiftie. Besides a Taylor Swift song, what's a song that's currently your life soundtrack?
Man, you have hard questions, and this is supposed to be rapid fire. Like I can't rapid fire this. I don't even know.
Okay, well, we're going to switch it because the next one is what is your favorite Taylor Swift song?
And that's another hard one. Okay, so my very favorite probably is Long Live, but that is by a hair. If I would have to list at least one favorite from each album, if not multiples. So yeah, but Reputation had always been my favorite album. And I do feel like in a lot of ways, if you were to say like what's the musical piece that is defining your life right now, the soundtrack, it is Reputation. Like I identify myself with that. I have my snake bracelet on because I want to bring my reputation energy today. And that's been a huge motivator for me through my health journey. And anytime I need to do anything that's hard or I don't feel like I can do, I'm like, I got to bring that energy. And I wear my snake and I bring it home.
I love that so much. I'm a big music fan too. I've seen Taylor Swift. I got to go to the Eras tour, but I'm a huge Dave Matthews Band fan. And same thing. Like there's a soundtrack, an album to different parts of my life that
Yeah.
I love. And then what's the first thing you'd tell your younger self?
I think I'd say it gets better.
I love that.
Yeah.
Olivia, this has been so, I mean, my questions were there, but I just feel like it just took a turn to be so motivating and so powerful. And your resilience in life has been amazing. And you're just somebody who has the story, but you have the backing to the story. And you are so, again, intentional with everything that you do. And it is so nice and a breath of fresh air to get these kind of stories. All, my interviews with the women that I've had on these are all inspiring women in different ways, and I love that we have a voice and we have a platform to do that. And it just goes to show that like your whole experience, health, wealth, your journey, it's achievable as long as you believe in you, and you have
Yes.
clearly shown that you believe in you. So if anybody wants to connect and follow your Instagram journey, where can they find you?
Yes. So I have been trying to do more posting on Instagram lately. I'm not great at it, but my Instagram is live LIV _living my best life, just spelt out like the words normally would be spelt. So that's where I have my all my health things on my Instagram. And it has been really helpful for me to follow others sort of along my health journey. And if anyone find value there, I would absolutely love to be able to try to help you.
Awesome. We'll make sure we link that in the show notes. So my very last question: if there's one thing that you want every listener to go and do after this episode, what would it be?
And spend some thinking time, like at least maybe an hour of time that's uninterrupted to really think about what is something in your life that you feel is not where you want it to be, or you think that there could be something more there for you, something more out there. Don't be afraid to dream and do things that you don't think would be possible, because honestly a lot of the things I've done I don't think that I would have thought would be possible. And then write down what that thing is and put it somewhere, and then also write down what's something that you can do today, tomorrow, this week to just start working towards it. Even if it feels so impossible, break it down, and it's like, what is just one thing I can do? Even if that thing is ask my doctor if I can run certain tests, or start saving $5 a week. I don't know, whatever it is that you think that you can do for whatever that goal is, just make it something you can take action on today.
I love that so much. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us today. I think that you're going to be really inspiring to a lot of my listeners. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Wow. I told you that was going to be a great interview. And I am so, so happy that Olivia was able to take some time out of her busy schedule to sit down and talk with me today. I really hope that you got something out of this interview as well, whether it was the part about personal agency or, you know, sometimes we have to let quote unquote fun go to invest in ourselves and invest in our future and our health. And maybe that's something that you needed to hear. Whatever it was, I hope that this resonated with you in one part or another. And if it did, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you think that somebody out there in your life would benefit from listening to this interview, please share. It costs nothing to share or to like or to subscribe to my podcast, and I would really, really appreciate it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love this platform. I'm so happy that I decided to make the leap and start this podcast because I have met so many of you online, offline, the people that I've interviewed. Everybody's been so amazing. And we all come from different walks of life and we all have different stories, but we have one thing in common. We are women going through the thick of midlife. And sometimes that's great and sometimes it really sucks. But I'm so thankful that we have this community that we started that we can all talk to each other about it. Um, Make sure that you go on Facebook and join the Midlife Edit Insiders Facebook group. It's not paid, everything's free. Just go in there, make some friends in there. Sometimes I talk about it a lot. Sometimes we go through a lot and we don't know who to turn to. Maybe you can't turn to your spouse or a family member, but there's other women going through very similar things than you are, and you're never alone. So make sure you join that group or just shoot me a DM or an email at jen@themidlifeeditco.com. If you need somebody to talk to, I am here. And just stay tuned for the next few episodes, which I have some really great interviews with some really great women. So hang in there. And until next time, this is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter.